In this episode of Raddest Rides in 80s action figures, we're going to look at things like a flying throne, a scooter, a helicopter, and a couple things that you'll want to see for yourself. So, stick around. Dorks and Dorkettes, and welcome to Nostalgia Syndrome. My name is Rob, and in this episode we will be talking about more of the raddest rides in 80s action figures. Now, there are a plethora of awesome 80s vehicle toys, but the criteria for this series are only two things. One, that the vehicle can actually house an action figure, and the second thing, that these vehicles aren't part of a vehicle-based toy line that happens to have figures. I know, those rules sound a bit silly, but the reason I do that is because I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to putting different toys in categories, and because of that, it will allow me to have more content in the future. Believe me, if it all goes according to plan, we'll take a look at all the different vehicles and all the different toys eventually. Anyway, let's get to the raddest rides in 80s action figures, part 2. Number 1 on the list is a 2-for-1, because you needed both of these vehicles to take full advantage of its action features. Both of these vehicles come from the Bionic 6 toy line, which was put out by LJN in 1986. On paper, these vehicles seem utterly ridiculous, and they are both flying thrones. Technically, the bad guy has the throne, and the good guys just have a chair. First off, let's take a look at the good guy side of this, and this is the laser arrow chair, piloted by any member of the Bennett family, I guess. Okay, a quick rundown of Bionic 6 if you're not familiar with the cartoon or the toy line. Okay, Bionic 6 is about the Bennett family, and there are 6 of them. After a horrible accident, they are given cybernetic powers, and there is a mom, dad, and 4 kids. Their cybernetics kind of fell into a shticky kind of category, at least for the kids. You had Sport 1, Rock 1, Karate 1, and IQ. Why doesn't he get a 1? Anyway, they use their super awesome cybernetics and millions of dollars that they have just laying around to fight Dr. Scarab and his evil henchmen, who also have really cool powers, cybernetics, technology-based hoopla. They're pretty cool. Anyway, LJN released awesome die-cast action figures of all the characters, and they had some awesome playsets and vehicles. Anyway, the Bennett family had the laser arrow chair. I don't specifically remember this vehicle from the cartoon, and the toy is kinda underwhelming, but it's rad for the simple fact that when paired up with Dr. Scarab's flying laser throne, they could actually fight each other. It's very reminiscent of the Brave Star laser gun backpacks that also came out the exact same year from Mattel. You would aim the vehicles at each other, and an infrared beam would shoot between them and would communicate to whatever toy was hit with lights and sound to show that there is a battle going on. Out of these 2 toys, though, I have to give the winning points to the flying laser throne. It just looks really cool with its purple color, the hoses coming off of it, and it just looks way more menacing than the arrow flying chair. And throne just sounds 100 times better than chair. Like I said, I don't really remember these being in the cartoon, but, I mean, in my heart, I just feel like they created these toys just for the laser technology, because it was a big and hot thing at the time. Like I said, the Brave Star toy line really capitalized on this, but it almost seems more apropos because you're dealing with gunfighters, like doing quick draws. So whoever's quicker on the laser blast backpack would win. And yeah, like I said, that just seems a little bit more appropriate than flying chairs and thrones. Anyway, number 2 on the list is the Scare Scooter. Now, this is from the Ghostbusters toy line. No, not that Ghostbusters, this Ghostbusters. This was made by Shapper in 1986, and please forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that name correctly, but I don't remember a lot of their toys from the 80s or beyond, so please forgive me because I really don't have a lot to go on. Now let's all take a moment to revel in how awesome the Scare Scooter is. I mean, the fact that it's a flying skull, how can you top that? I mean, yes, this is the more inferior Ghostbusters, but over the years, I've really found some neat things to like about this toy line. Can't say I've ever stepped back into the realm of the cartoon, but I know as a kid I did not like it at all. But the toys? Yeah, I can really appreciate the toys. And this is a perfect example as to why. I mean, this is a... Well, let me pull up the box here and read you what it says on it. The Scare Scooter. It's a scooter. It's a plane. Convertible skull roof. Freewheeling vehicle. No batteries necessary. So much fun, it's spooky. How can you fault that? It's a scooter. It's a plane. It's a skull. Also, on the package art, there's an awesome werewolf guy driving it. Now, like I said, have not stepped back into the realm of the cartoon, so I don't know who this werewolf guy is, but I'm digging him. And here's a picture from the cartoon showing the same werewolf dude piloting the Scare Scooter. How awesome is that? The toy package matches up with the cartoon, and both are awesome. I am a huge fan of this, and I just simply appreciate just how neat it is. It's a great skull design that could fit a lot of different action figure villain groups. Heck, good guy groups. I mean, skulls are awesome. Everyone likes skulls. Now, I have a couple questions real quick. Now, is the skull handmade? Is it from a dead giant? Where did it come from? Anyway, like I said, I really appreciate this toy line. The more research that I do into Forgotten Toys and Raddest Rides, the Filmation Ghostbusters is pretty darn awesome. And again, I cannot speak for the cartoon, only what I see casted in plastic. Now, number 3 comes from a toy line that I kind of struggle to categorize. In my categories, it could either fall into gross out toys or military toys. And that toy line is Food Fighters. Made by Mattel in 1988, Food Fighters kind of capitalized on the oddball and weird toy trend that kind of came about with the Ninja Turtles. Say what you will about these figures. I mean, they're kind of weird, but kind of ingenious at the same time, and that kind of goes for this vehicle, the Fry Chopper. Now, the Fry Chopper actually is made from different parts, and it's kind of neat. The base of the helicopter is a frying pan, so it looks like out of the box you get the frying pan. You also get a motorized propeller system that you snap on the top that is battery operated and made up of spatulas. It also has hot dog runners on the bottom, which is kind of odd because there's a hot dog character. So yeah, that kind of stuff has always tripped me up, because are those sentient hot dogs there? Is he the only sentient hot dog guy? Just too many questions. I'm thinking too much about it. Just for good measure, it has tomato soup cans on the side that are bombs. and then it kind of lacks the originality because it has just machine guns slapped underneath. I mean, do the machine guns shoot popcorn kernels? Beans? I mean, it just says machine gun on the back of the package, and again, I'm thinking way too much about it, and why am I questioning this? Anyway, the food fighters kinda came and went pretty quick. Just real quick, the figures themselves really weren't that articulated. They came with a weapon, a military grade weapon like machine guns and stuff, just kind of slapdashed in there. Like I said, when they started adding that like military component to it, it just didn't have the imagination. It was just guns, military. I mean, a tomato soup can bomb, now that's cool. Just a plain old machine gun, not as cool. But I'm adding this to the Raddest Rides because, like I said, the actual components that come in the box that you put together are actually the components of the backstory of the toy. So that's kind of neat, like frying pans, spatulas, hot dogs. You're like putting it together like the food fighters did. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So in my eyes, that makes it pretty rad. Number 4 on the list comes from Hasbro, produced in the year of 1987. And it's part of the Battle Beast toy line that, in my opinion, was an awesome toy line. Again, it didn't offer a lot in the way of articulation, but it had, hands down, great personality. Now, Battle Beasts were originally part of the Transformers toy line in Japan. When they brought them over here, they kind of got repackaged as their own thing. And yeah, I think it was really great. Now, the Battle Beasts were broken into 3 different factions based on elements: fire, wood, and water. And they had little rubby sticker things, just like how the Transformers did, that you could tell if it's an Autobot or a Decepticon. In this, you could see what element they fell into, and they were all really neat animal designs. Now, the vehicle in question is one of the battle chariots from the Battle Beast line. This one is called the Battle Deer Stalker, and it came with a figure of the same name. You know, an awesome deer guy. Now, the only question I have taking a look at this is it really supposed to be a deer? Yes, the pilot is a deer, very much so. But I have a hard time calling this a deer. It has fangs. It has horns. Not deer horns. To me, this looks like it has an Eastern dragon design to it. I mean, it would make sense with the type of horns. It has fangs. And it has like these weird missile things on the side that really serve no function other than to look cool. Now, the battle chariots, not to take anything away from them, didn't really have a lot to offer. I think their biggest selling point was how cool they looked, that they came with a figure, and that they had a pullback and release attack feature. Only one figure could actually sit in the cockpit, and I think figures could attach to the sides of it, and it kind of looks like you could open them up and put maybe 1 or 2 figures just on the inside nonchalantly. So yeah, all in all, not the most groundbreaking of toys, but some really nice styles. In the future, we'll take a look at some of the other really cool styles, but for now, we're just looking at the Battle Deer Stalker. But we all know it's a dragon, right? Right? It's not just me, is it? Do you think it's a dragon? Let me know in the comments. Now, number 5 on the list wouldn't be really considered a vehicle, but it's definitely a ride. A very rad ride. And that is the Dino Demon. And yes, you heard that correctly. The Dino Demon. From Defenders of the Planets. Made by Sparkle in 1985, Defenders of the Planets took heavy inspiration from Masters of the Universe. Can you see that there? Defender of the Planets, Masters of the Universe? Yeah. Anyway, the figures were very much inspired, like I said, from Masters of the Universe. So these vehicles and mounts would easily accommodate your Masters of the Universe figures and probably save you a couple bucks in the long run, because they're not official. They're inspired. See, I like saying inspired opposed to rip-off or knockoff, because I feel like that just kind of undersells the product, the toy, and the imagination that it actually took some toy designers to make these. I mean, yes, is it kind of a blatant ripoff? Definitely. But there are people still working very hard to produce these toys, and I'd like to give them the credit that they deserve. Anyway, the Dino Demon fits perfectly into the realm of the Imperial dragons and dinosaur figures that came out in like the 70s and 80s. I mean, everybody seemed to have that Imperial two-headed dragon. And this is in the exact same wheelhouse as that. It has the same type of metallic paint scheme, the same just, chunky rubber dragon dinosaur design, but it has a really neat, harness around it for the characters to sit on, like a saddle. Now, the one thing I remember about the Imperial dragon toys, I can't really speak for this, but for the Imperial ones, their teeth and spikes were legitimately sharp and could actually hurt you. So looking at this, all I see is the potential pain of playing with it, and, that sense of danger adds to the rad scale. And the name alone, what a great selling point. I mean, we kicked off this episode talking about chairs and thrones. Now, it's Dino Demons. I mean, come on. You gotta give it credit where credit is due. Anyway, that was just a look at 5 of the raddest rides in 80s action figures. Now, I have to be honest, I am still compiling these lists as we speak. I'm already up to about 240 separate listings, and I have a lot more to go. So these lists are completely random from what things I have researched so far. Will there be bigger and better and more popular items in the future? Most definitely. But for now, I'm having fun looking at these mostly forgotten vehicles and the action figure toy lines that spawned them. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It is now a new monthly feature to the channel to take a look at these raddest rides in 80s action figures. So I hope you enjoy it, and just know that there are many more interesting, fascinating, and rad vehicles ahead of us. So anyway, if you did enjoy this episode, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them, and I love getting back to everybody. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this or any of the episodes YouTube is recommending down here, please hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell icon, you will be notified whenever there's a new episode. So until next time, thanks for watching. Keep being rad and stay dorky!